Good evening, and welcome to Sleep Sanctuary, where calmness and imagination meet to guide you into a restful sleep. Tonight, as the storm hums its restless melody outside, let us retreat to a place of warmth and calm. Imagine yourself seated in a comfortable chair, wrapped in a soft blanket, as the wind whispers against the windows and the rhythmic patter of rain echoes in the distance. The gentle crackle of the fireplace fills the room, its glow wrapping you in a cocoon of serenity. Breathe deeply and feel the weight of the day melt away. Here, in this quiet moment, we'll embark on a journey, not far, but deep, into the heart of the flames. The fireplace has always been a source of comfort, a sentinel against the chill of winter nights. But tonight, as I sit by its flickering glow, something feels different. The flames dance with an almost deliberate rhythm, as if alive, each flicker carrying a message only the stillness of this night can reveal. Have you ever stared into a fire and felt it staring back? It's as though the fire itself has a story to tell, a story woven from winter's long past, hidden in the play of light and shadow. As I lean closer, I notice something unusual. Shapes begin to form in the flames, not random, but vivid. A figure trudging through snow, a cabin glowing with warmth, a family gathered around a fire much like mine. The scenes are fleeting, like whispers carried by the wind, but they beckon me to look deeper. The storm outside grows fiercer, its howl a stark contrast to the quiet revelations within the hearth. I'm drawn to the flames, unable to look away. The images sharpen, colors intensify, and I feel as though I'm no longer just observing but stepping into the stories themselves. One flicker, then another, and suddenly the world I know fades. I'm transported to a winter night from long ago. The air is crisp, the snow heavy, and in the heart of the cold, a story of warmth begins to unfold. Tonight, the fireplace has chosen to speak, and I am here to listen. Close your eyes, if you'd like, and allow yourself to fully embrace the comfort of this moment. The storm outside continues its steady symphony, rain tapping against the windows, wind swirling in soft, rhythmic gusts. But here, in the glow of the firelight, you are safe, warm, and at peace. Feel the gentle warmth radiating from the fireplace, wrapping around you like a soft, protective cocoon. Imagine the flicker of the flames, their golden light casting soothing shadows across the room. Each crackle of the fire brings with it a sense of calm, a reminder to let go of the day's burdens. Breathe in deeply through your nose, feeling the coolness of the air, and then exhale slowly through your mouth, releasing tension with each breath. Inhale once more, and as you do, picture the warmth of the fire filling you, soft and glowing. Exhale, and feel any lingering worries drift away, carried off into the night. Let your body sink deeper into your seat, each muscle relaxing more with every moment. Your shoulders loosen, your arms grow heavy, and your legs feel weightless. The fireplace crackles softly, as if whispering reassurance, you are exactly where you need to be. Now, let your mind wander to the serene imagery of winter, freshly fallen snow blanketing the world in quiet stillness, frost glistening on tree branches, and a soft glow illuminating the landscape. You are at peace here, surrounded by the magic of the moment. As the fire continues to burn steadily, feel its rhythm syncing with your breath. Let go of the day, the noise, the rush. Here, in this space, you are free to simply be. Rest easy, for the story will return when you are ready. The flames flickered again, their glow growing brighter, and I was drawn deeper into their mesmerizing dance. As I stared, the shapes in the fire sharpened, becoming clearer. A snowy landscape emerged, soft and untouched, stretching as far as the eye could see. In the distance, a lone figure appeared, trudging through the snow. Their breath hung in the icy air as they pulled their coat tighter against the bitter wind. The fire's crackle seemed to carry me closer to the scene, and suddenly I could feel the cold myself, the chill pressing against my skin. The traveler was weary, their steps faltering as they pushed forward, searching for something, anything, that might offer shelter from the unforgiving winter. Night was falling, and the frost-covered trees around them stood silent and unyielding. Then, just as the traveler began to stumble, a warm glow appeared through the trees. It was faint at first, like a distant star, but it grew stronger with every step. The traveler's pace quickened, hope igniting within them. Finally, they reached a small cabin nestled in the woods, its windows glowing with the inviting light of a roaring fire inside. The traveler hesitated, unsure if they would be welcome. Their hand hovered over the door, but before they could knock, the door opened, and a kind-faced woman appeared. She looked at the traveler with a knowing smile, as though she had been waiting for them all along. Without hesitation, she ushered them inside, closing the door against the storm. The warmth of the fire embraced the traveler immediately, thawing their frozen hands and filling them with relief. Inside the cabin, a small family sat around the fire, a man, the woman, and two children with wide, curious eyes. They made space for their unexpected guest without question, offering a blanket, a hot drink, and a place to sit by the fire. The flames shifted again, and I watched as the traveler told their story, how they had been caught in the storm, lost and alone, unsure if they would make it through the night. The family listened intently, their faces lit with compassion. They didn't ask for anything in return, only reassuring the traveler that they were safe now. As the night went on, the cabin filled with quiet conversation and soft laughter. The children asked the traveler about the places they had been and the adventures they had seen. The traveler, who had been so burdened by the cold and fear, found themselves smiling for the first time in days. Eventually, the storm outside began to quiet, its once howling winds reduced to a soft whisper. The family prepared a simple meal and insisted the traveler share it with them. There was something magical about the scene, an unspoken bond forming between strangers brought together by the fire's warmth. The flames danced higher, and the scene shifted once more. I saw the traveler departing at dawn, the storm behind them and the sun rising on the horizon. Before they left, the family gave them a small, handmade token, a charm carved from wood, etched with a symbol of welcome and kindness. As the traveler walked away, they paused at the edge of the clearing, turning back to see the smoke curling from the cabin's chimney. Their face was filled with gratitude, not just for the shelter, but for the reminder that even in the coldest of winters, the warmth of human kindness could endure. The flames flickered once more, and the scene began to fade. I sat back in my chair, feeling the weight of the story settle over me. It wasn't just a tale of survival. It was a testament to the power of compassion, of opening one's door and heart to those in need. I stared at the fire, its glow softening, and I couldn't help but wonder, how often do we have the chance to offer such warmth to others? The fireplace had spoken, and its story lingered in my mind, reminding me of the quiet strength in kindness. The fire shifted again, the flames curling and twisting in a hypnotic rhythm. As I stared deeper, another story began to emerge, this time softer and more intimate. Shapes formed, and the scene revealed a humble cottage nestled in a snow-blanketed valley. Smoke rose from the chimney in lazy spirals, and through a frosted window, I saw the faint glow of a fire casting warm light within. Inside the cottage, a young couple sat close to the hearth, their faces illuminated by the flickering flames. The woman, wrapped in a patchwork blanket, leaned against the man's shoulder as they spoke in quiet tones, their words lost in the crackle of the fire. They were surrounded by simple, handmade decorations, a few pine boughs, a string of dried berries, and a wooden ornament shaped like a heart resting on the mantel above the fireplace. As I watched, the flames seemed to draw me closer, allowing me to hear fragments of their conversation. They spoke of dreams for the future, of a family, a garden in the spring, and a small shop they hoped to open one day. Their laughter was soft, like the gentle fall of snow, and their love filled the room with an undeniable warmth. But as the firelight shifted, so did the scene. The laughter faded, replaced by an air of quiet sorrow. Winter had returned, harsher than before, and the cottage now seemed colder, emptier. The man sat alone by the fire, the blanket folded neatly on the chair beside him. He held the wooden heart in his hands, tracing its edges with care. The flames told no words, but their movements conveyed the story clearly. The woman was gone, not through anger or distance, but through the inevitable passing of time. The man's face was etched with loss, yet there was no bitterness in his expression, only a deep and abiding love that remained in her absence. Each evening, he returned to the fire, carrying with him the memories of the life they had built together. The fire became his companion, its warmth a reminder of the love they had shared. As the snow continued to fall outside, the man began carving another wooden heart, its surface smooth and polished like the first. One day, a visitor arrived at the cottage, a young girl with curious eyes and a shy smile. She was the man's niece, sent to spend the winter with him while her parents were away. At first, the man hesitated, unsure if his quiet, solitary life could accommodate her lively spirit. But as the days passed, her laughter filled the cottage once more, echoing the joy that had been missing. Together they sat by the fire, and the man began to tell her stories of winters past, of the love he had shared, and of the strength it had given him even in loss. The girl listened with wide eyes, her own heart touched by the beauty of his words. As the winter wore on, the man finished the second wooden heart and gave it to the girl as a gift. "This is for you," he said, his voice steady but tender. "To remind you that love, even when it seems lost, never truly fades. It stays with us, warming us like this fire, through every season of life." The scene in the flames began to fade, leaving me with a profound sense of stillness. The man's story was one of love and resilience, a reminder that even in the face of loss, the warmth of connection endures. I leaned back, the glow of my own fire reflecting in my eyes. Love, I realized, isn't just about the moments of joy, it's also about the quiet strength it gives us to carry on, to find warmth even in the coldest winters. The fire crackled softly, as if in agreement, and I let its warmth sink deeper into my soul. The fire's flames leaped and swirled, pulling me into another story. This time, the scene was filled with laughter, light, and the joyful chaos of family. A large, rustic living room came into focus, adorned with evergreen garlands and flickering candles. Snow piled high against the windows, but inside, the warmth was palpable. A group of people, parents, children, grandparents, gathered around a roaring fireplace, their faces glowing with excitement. The air buzzed with anticipation as an older man, likely the family patriarch, stood before the fire holding a small, well-worn wooden box. His hands were steady despite his years, and his voice carried a quiet authority that commanded attention. The family fell silent as he opened the box, revealing an assortment of small, hand-carved ornaments. Each ornament was unique, a bird in flight, a tiny house, a snowflake etched with intricate details. The man began passing them out, one by one, to the gathered family members. With each ornament came a story. "To my eldest grandson," the man said, handing over a carved star, "this is the one I made the year you were born. It represents hope, because when you came into the world, we knew brighter days were ahead." "To my daughter," he said, offering a heart-shaped piece, "this is the one I made when you left for college. I carved it from the old oak in our yard, a reminder that no matter where you go, your roots will always be here." Each story was met with quiet reflection, laughter, or even a tear or two. The family wasn't just sharing ornaments, they were sharing their history, their love, and the memories that had shaped them. As the final ornament was handed out, the man gestured to the tree standing tall near the fireplace. "Now," he said with a warm smile, "it's time to add this year's piece." From his pocket, he produced a new carving, a small flame, its edges smooth and its center painted with a faint orange glow. "This one," he said, holding it high for all to see, "is for the fire that has always brought us together. For the warmth it provides, for the stories it sparks, and for the moments we share around it." Together, the family approached the tree. Each person carefully hung their ornament, taking a moment to reflect on its meaning. The tree shimmered with a patchwork of memories, each piece glowing in the firelight. I watched this scene unfold, captivated by the beauty of the tradition. It wasn't about the ornaments themselves, but about the stories they carried and the way they united the family. Even the youngest children seemed to understand the importance of the ritual, their faces solemn as they hung their pieces on the tree. The fire's glow began to soften, and the scene in the flames faded. Yet its impact lingered in my mind. I leaned back in my chair, staring into my own fireplace, and felt a strange sense of familiarity. Something about this story felt personal, as if the fire was reminding me of something I had long forgotten. Memories began to stir, dim and fragmented at first, but growing clearer with each passing moment. My childhood home. A fireplace much like this one. My family gathered on a snowy evening, my father carving an ornament while my mother told stories. I hadn't thought about that tradition in years. Life had gotten busy, and the memory had slipped into the background, buried under the weight of responsibilities and time. But now, as the fire crackled softly, I realized how much I missed it. The flames seemed to whisper a gentle suggestion, "Revive it. Bring the tradition back. Share it with those I love." I smiled to myself, warmed by more than just the fire's heat. The story had left its mark, and I knew what I needed to do. The fireplace had spoken, and its wisdom was clear. Traditions, like flames, need tending to keep their warmth alive. The fire burned steadily, its light casting long shadows across the room as I sat in quiet contemplation. The memory of my childhood tradition lingered in my mind, filling me with both nostalgia and resolve. I couldn't shake the feeling that the fire was urging me to act, its flickers carrying a message I could no longer ignore. It had been years, decades even, since my family had gathered around a fire to share stories and memories, to create something together that would last beyond the season. Life had pulled us in different directions, scattering us across cities and countries. But as I sat there, the flames seemed to whisper, "It's not too late." The next morning, I called my sister. Her voice on the other end was warm, tinged with surprise. "You've been quiet lately," she said, a playful note in her tone. "What's on your mind?" "I've been thinking about those winters when we were kids," I began, hesitating for just a moment. "Do you remember the ornaments Dad used to carve for the tree?" Her laughter was immediate, rich with the same fondness I felt. "Of course I do. I still have the little snowman he made for me. I hang it up every year." We talked for a while, reminiscing about those nights by the fire, the way the wood smoke would fill the room, the sound of Dad's knife carving into the wood, and the stories Mom would tell as we sipped hot cocoa. It felt good to remember, to share those moments with someone who had lived them too. Then I told her my idea. "What if we brought it back? The tradition, I mean. Let's get everyone together this winter, make it special, like it used to be." There was a pause on the other end, and for a moment I worried she might think it was a silly idea. But then she said, "I love that. Let's do it." Over the next few weeks, I reached out to the rest of the family. There were excited responses, a few logistical challenges, and even a couple of hesitant "Are you sure we can pull this off?" questions. But slowly, the plan came together. We decided to meet at the old family cabin, tucked away in the woods where the snow fell thick and quiet. My brother offered to bring supplies, my sister volunteered to gather photos and keepsakes for storytelling, and I set to work on my contribution, carving ornaments, just as Dad had done. I hadn't held a carving knife in years, and the first few attempts were clumsy. The wood felt unfamiliar in my hands, and I found myself frustrated by the imperfections. But as I worked, something shifted. The rhythm of carving, the scent of fresh wood, and the feel of the grain beneath my fingers brought back memories of watching Dad's careful hands. I carved a star, a snowflake, and a small bird in flight. Each piece carried its own story, a memory, a message, or a hope for the future. By the time I finished, I felt a deep connection to the tradition I was reviving, as if I were carrying on something far greater than myself. Finally, the day arrived. The family gathered at the cabin, bundled in scarves and boots, their laughter echoing through the frosty air. Inside, the fire roared to life, casting its glow over familiar faces and filling the room with warmth. We shared stories, just as we had when we were children. My sister unwrapped old ornaments, each one sparking a memory or a tale. My brother's kids listened wide-eyed, their imaginations ignited by the stories of winters past. When it came time to hang the new ornaments, I handed them out one by one, sharing their meanings. "This one," I said, holding up the star, "is for hope. Because no matter where we are, we can always find our way back to each other." The tree sparkled with memories old and new, its branches heavy with meaning. As I stepped back and looked at my family gathered around the fire, I felt a deep sense of peace. The tradition was alive again, its warmth spreading through the room like the fire's glow. That night, as the snow fell softly outside, I realized the flames had given me more than a story. They had given me a way to reconnect, to keep the fire of family burning bright. The fire in the old cabin burned low, its embers glowing softly as the evening unfolded. Around the room, my family sat in a loose circle, their faces illuminated by the flickering light. The air was filled with the warmth of togetherness, the kind that only comes when the past and present collide in perfect harmony. The tree stood tall in the corner, its branches adorned with the ornaments we had brought and created. Each piece carried a story, and now it was time to share them. My sister started, picking up an old, weathered ornament carved into the shape of a bird. "This," she said, holding it up, "is the first ornament Dad ever made for me. I must have been 6. He told me it was a sparrow, because sparrows always find their way home, no matter how far they fly." Her voice softened, and I could see her eyes glisten with emotion. I didn't understand it then, but now I do. It's about family, about how no matter where life takes us, we always come back to each other. The children leaned in, their wide eyes sparkling with curiosity. "Did Grandpa carve all the ornaments?" one of them asked. I smiled, picking up one of my own creations, a small, imperfect snowflake I'd made when I was barely old enough to hold a knife. "Not all of them," I said, chuckling. "This one was mine." I was so proud of it, even though it's a bit lopsided. Dad helped me smooth the edges, but he made sure to leave a few of my mistakes. He said they gave it character. The room filled with laughter, the kind that echoes and lingers, warming every corner of the heart. One by one, we shared stories tied to each ornament. My brother recalled the year a blizzard trapped us in the cabin for days, turning the world outside into a pristine, silent wonderland. My sister recounted the time we sang carols by the fire, our voices so loud and off-key that Dad swore we scared the wildlife away. Even the youngest members of the family began to contribute, weaving their own memories into the tapestry of stories. "I remember the first time we came here," said my niece, holding an ornament shaped like a tiny house. "I thought it was a magical place, like something out of a fairy tale." "It is magical," my sister said, her voice soft. "Not because of the cabin or the snow, but because of us. Because we're here together, keeping this tradition alive." As the night wore on, I felt a quiet shift in the room. The stories weren't just for us anymore, they were for the next generation, for the children who listened with rapt attention, their imaginations alight with the tales of winters long past. I thought of the fire itself, its flames flickering and dancing as if alive. It had shown me stories of love, resilience, and connection. And now, It felt as though it were urging me to pass those lessons on, to ensure they wouldn't be forgotten. Reaching for one of the new ornaments, a small flame I'd carved, I held it up for all to see. "This one is special," I said, my voice steady but full of emotion. "It's for the fire that brought us together. Not just this one," I gestured to the hearth, "but the one inside each of us. The fire that keeps us connected, no matter the distance or time." My niece stood, taking the ornament from my hands and hanging it on the tree with care. "It's perfect," she said, her voice filled with wonder. In that moment, I realized the fire had done more than reignite a family tradition. It had become a bridge, connecting generations through the power of stories and shared memories. As the flames danced lower, I leaned back and let the warmth of the moment settle into my heart. The stories we'd shared, the traditions we'd revived, they would live on, carried forward by those who sat by the fire tonight and those who would sit by it in the years to come. The fire burned low, its embers casting a gentle glow over the room. The laughter and chatter of the evening had quieted, replaced by a tranquil stillness. Outside, the snow continued to fall, blanketing the world in soft silence. Inside, the warmth of the fire lingered, not just in the air but in our hearts. I gazed at the tree, its branches adorned with ornaments old and new. Each piece seemed to shimmer with meaning, carrying the weight of stories shared and memories rekindled. This tree, this gathering, this moment, it felt timeless, as if we had stepped into a tradition that had always been waiting for us to rediscover. The children had fallen asleep on the rug near the fire, their faces serene in the glow of the dying flames. My sister sat beside me, cradling a mug of cocoa, her expression peaceful. "It feels like home again," she said softly, breaking the silence. "It does," I agreed, my voice barely above a whisper. I didn't realize how much I missed this until now. She nodded, her gaze fixed on the fire. "Do you think Dad knew how much these moments would mean to us? All those nights by the fire, all those stories he told, did he know they'd stay with us this long?" I thought about the man I remembered so vividly, his steady hands carving wood, his voice weaving tales that made the coldest nights feel warm. "I think he did," I said finally. "And I think he wanted us to keep them alive, to pass them on." As the fire crackled softly, I felt a deep sense of gratitude, not just for the memories, but for the chance to create new ones. The tradition we had revived wasn't just about ornaments or stories. It was about connection, about the invisible thread that tied us together across time and distance. The flames flickered, casting shadows that seemed to dance on the walls. I watched them closely, half expecting to see another story emerge. But instead, the fire seemed content, its message delivered. I stood and placed another log on the hearth, coaxing the fire back to life. The flames rose, their warmth spreading through the room once more. My sister smiled, and for a moment we sat in silence, simply enjoying the fire's glow. Eventually, I turned to the tree, studying the ornaments that adorned its branches. My gaze fell on the small flame I had carved, the one we had added to the collection that night. It hung near the center, catching the light in a way that made it seem almost alive. "That one's my favorite," my sister said, following my gaze. "Mine too," I replied. "It feels special. Like it represents everything we've shared tonight." She nodded, her expression thoughtful. "Maybe it's a reminder," she said, "that even when the fire burns low, even when we're far apart, the warmth is still there. We just have to tend to it." Her words settled over me like a blanket, comforting and true. The fire, the stories, the traditions, they weren't just about the past. They were about carrying something forward, about keeping the flame alive no matter what storms might come. As the evening wore on, the fire began to fade, its embers glowing faintly. One by one, my family drifted off to bed, leaving me alone by the hearth. I stared into the dying flames, feeling their warmth and listening to their quiet whispers. Finally, I stood and turned out the lights, leaving the room illuminated only by the soft glow of the fire and the twinkling lights on the tree. Before heading to bed, I paused and placed one last log on the embers, ensuring the fire would last just a little longer. "Rest well," I murmured, speaking to the fire as much as to myself. "And thank you." As I climbed the stairs, the fire's glow lingered in my mind, its warmth a gentle reminder of the stories it had told and the lessons it had shared. That night, as I drifted off to sleep, I carried with me a simple but profound truth: traditions, like flames, may flicker and fade, but with care, they can burn eternal. Rest well, and may your dreams be as warm and timeless as tonight's tale.